Hey gang, welcome to Mzansi and USA News. This is quite interesting. It's interesting times in our country. Our leadership, whether they be traditional leaders or political leaders, seems to have drank the Kool-Aid of globalism. Listen to what King MisiZulu has to say over here regarding how we treat foreigners. Of course, I agree with some of the things that he says because I'm a Christian in terms of how you treat your fellow man. I just disagree with him that those individuals should be allowed in our country, even if they are illegal. As a matter of fact, I just want you to hear him out, and then I'll give you my analysis thereafter.
Asimasuphatha kabi nomhlukumeza abantu bangaphandle. Siyazi ukuthi indawo abasuke besuka kuzo bezofuna noma bezobheka impilo engcono ezweni lethu. Thina kufanele ngabe siyajabula yini nasizwe ekumele ukuthi nibakhombe indlela ukuthi mawukuthi ungaseNigeria, ungaseCameroon noma ungaseGhana, manje kuKwaZulu sinenkosi-ke thina la. Manifuna ukuhlala la amanye ukhonza enkosini siyokwazi ukuphilisana nalabo abantu, kodwa uma nizohlala nabo emadolobheni nendlela ezinto eniyidlayo angeke kulungele ukuthola nabesiko. Lapho nje asingakhohlisani. Batsheleni ukuthi sinenkosi-ke thina la siphile kanje. Asihambe mfowethu siye enkosini, kuyakhonza la kuKwaZulu. Singabashaya. Uma senze kanjalo niyobona Zulu mnyama angeke sebenake sinikeze inkinga labantu.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, fellow South African, it's rather interesting that King MisiZulu says what he says. Look at what Sunday World reported. DA question plans to build AmaZulu King a new palace. That was just last week, on the 22nd of September. Plans to construct a new multi-million rands palace for AmaZulu King MisiZulu kaZwelithini, who already receives a substantial budget for his lavish lifestyle, has raised eyebrows in the precarious provincial government of unity in KwaZulu-Natal. Now, that substantial budget is 77 million, good people. I want you to know. I know exactly how much it is. It's 77 million given to this family. The Office of the MEC for Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Reverend Thulasizwe Buthelezi, has announced that it is working on a plan to build a new abode for King MisiZulu in Palito. Now, Palito is an upmarket environment. It is not where you can say a traditional leader should be staying. A traditional leader should be staying right amongst his people, isn't it? Buthelezi plans to build the palace close to wealthy Palito suburb, which is part of KwaDukuza local municipality of the province in the north, on the north coast. It's widely believed that the founder of the Zulu nation, King Shaka, had one of his palaces known as KwaDukuza in the area. King Shaka's grave is also in KwaDukuza, formerly Stenga. The public has not yet learned the exact cost of the new palace. However, it is expected to be in the millions. You see that? So basically, they want to build King MisiZulu kaZwelithini a palace, which would be the 7th palace, right? Now, this is a gentleman who administers the Ingonyama Trust that has 37% of the land in KwaZulu-Natal. He's got 3 million hectares of land at his disposal. I didn't say 300,000. No, 3 million hectares of land at his disposal. And he's telling fellow Zulus who don't have that much land, who are suffering and struggling to make ends meet, to accept foreigners who ran away from their countries because, for me, it makes absolutely no sense. What could be the reason why are people who are less privileged than he should be accepting foreigners coming into this country? Please let me understand that. First and foremost, just like he is a king, meaning he is a leader of the Zulu nation, Those individuals have got their own leaders that they voted for. And you know what, good people? This is a progressive leftist agenda that King MisiZulu is pushing here. We can't have traditional leaders pushing leftist politics. You know why? Because then that must mean people must vote for their king. Are you following me? It makes absolutely no sense that a king who already has so many hectares of land at his disposal, already has 6 palaces, already received 77 million of our tax money, should actually be building a 7th palace. Now, of course, if the Zulu people are happy with that, I'm happy with that. But once he starts delving into politics and telling us how we should cohabit with foreign nationals, this is problematic. This is problematic. The king is now entering in politics. Now, let me show you as my parting shot what his father had to say about this, and then I'll leave it up to you to decide whether or not he is keeping in step with what his what we call biological father said before him, King Zwelithini. Listen to this.
Meanwhile, the remarks by Zulu King Goodwill Zwelithini calling for the deportation of foreign nationals living in South Africa has met widespread criticism. The Zulu monarch is quoted in weekend reports as saying it is unacceptable that locals are being made to compete with people from other countries for the few economic opportunities available. The Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa, CONTRALESA, is the mother body of traditional leaders in the country. We spoke to Kgosi Sitlamorago Tobejane, the president of CONTRALESA, who has openly supported King Zwelithini by saying the government should act urgently to address the continued influx of people seeking a better life here.
Under a normal circumstance, every time you'll hear the king speaking, he will be pronouncing the decisions of the community. The community have been spoken about the issue of foreigners. It looks we are hard to be, to listen to them. And then it becomes, something that worried the king to say it then mean I have to say directly from what the people are saying. We really understand the frustration the king is sitting under it. It is not his own voice, it's the voice of the people. The problem is when those who are supposed to have been, attending to the challenge of the foreigners are turning a blind eye over. It's where the problem will come, the way the king have raised it. In our own view, the issues of the foreigners, it is long overdue. The matter should have been attended in a different way. We've written a...
So you heard what King Zwelithini's opinion on the matter is, right? Now here comes King MisiZulu, kaZwelithini, telling us what he just told us right in the beginning. What is your view? I mean, we are already maintaining this individual because the money that MisiZulu receives annually in the budget is not from KwaZulu-Natal, it's from our tax as South Africans. Even those of us who are not Zulus and who don't have a king named MisiZulu. That is why it is very important for him to tread very cautiously on issues of this nature. Why? We blacks respect the fact that Zulus have a king. We respect that, right? Consequently, when we go to KZN, ourselves never ever disrespect the king, never speak ill of the king. But if the king is going to take his dignity and put it in the political domain and want to make out of his dignity political football, then the king is really undignifying that house and that what you call name that King Zwelithini carried. Okay, King Zwelithini was a very wise individual who self-corrected on a number of issues wherein he was almost dragged into politics himself, but he self-corrected. Okay, he was a very wise individual. I understand MisiZulu grew up in Swaziland under King what we call Mswati, right? Who obviously is his uncle, right? So I understand to a certain extent why he would have such a laissez-faire attitude towards foreigners, right? Because he himself was a foreigner in Swaziland, right? Okay, you can look at it that way, but that was his uncle, right? Okay, nevertheless, every child obviously is entitled to go kwamalume, isn't it? So he grew up there. Now he comes back here as a king, and he comes and tells us something very consistent to what we are fighting against. The ANC collapsed the borders, good people. That's why we have the problem. And people like Julius Malema wants to maintain the status quo, wants us to regularize those irregular people who are in our country, who are causing havoc and wreaking havoc in terms of crime, in terms of extortion, in terms of rape, in terms of murder. The list is endless. Our country right now is literally catching hell. It's on fire at every province, precisely because we are under siege. And here is the king says, let's cohabit, let's live peacefully with these individuals. How? I mean, other nationality, nationality that whose name I don't want to mention here because this video is not about that. They are going around cutting our robots into size, cutting them down for copper and stealing the robots overnight. It's not acceptable. These people are destructive in their tendencies. And the truth of the matter is this. When you have jumped the border illegally, when you are uneducated and you don't have documents, you find yourself in a foreign country, what's your best job that you can get except for crime? Think about it. And the question therefore is, why should we be the ones who are catching hell from their crimes? Why should they not be doing those crimes in their own respective countries? We've got our own criminals here, which our police are finding it very difficult to deal with. This thing of speaking for pro-foreigners by a king, for me, is quite disheartening if you consider the pressure on the resources of this country that puts. And King MisiZulu is not affected by this. That is why he's going to be building a palace in Baleto at our expense. You get the point? At our expense. Now, I don't have a problem with that because seemingly the country doesn't have a problem with paying kings and chiefs X amount of money. I don't have a problem with that. Don't want to build a monument out of this situation because for me, that's not what I'm challenging. What I'm challenging is his utterances. Why doesn't he give these people 10,000 hectares out of the land that he has and build, or 20,000 or 50,000 hectares and build them shelters there? Because he can afford. He's one person who can demonstrate to us that charity begins at home and demonstrate to us that he indeed practices what he preaches. Rather than expecting people in KwaZulu-Natal, eThekwini, eMgungundlovu to live with these individuals there and they are not properly housed. And consequently, what happens is they don't gravitate towards Balito, they gravitate towards KwaNongoma, they gravitate towards Dukuza, they gravitate towards all the locations in which black people are residing who are poor. So they become an extra burden towards the poor, not towards the rich. Not at all. Not at all. They don't. For example, where I stay, and I'm not claiming to be rich here, I don't have a problem with foreigners. Are you following me? However, when I go to the locations, when I go to certain areas like Kempton Park, when I drive through Berea, when I drive through what we call Hillbrow, you can see the slums that Hillbrow has become precisely because of these foreign nationals. Are you following me? I think the king should practice what he preaches. And I think he should be very careful because there is a dignity in that house. There is a dignity in that name. There is a dignity in that kingdom that he actually is occupying. He needs to be very, very careful. I've never criticized a king, for an example. Never, ever in my entire life. Are you following me? I've never criticized a king. This is the first time because I think he is delving into an area that he has no business delving into. You tell me, guys, what you think about it. He's not even reading from his notes to see how did his father treat this matter, because that's wisdom. If he simply just went back or asked amaphakathi akhe, ubaba, ngenkathi, ngoba this thing is not starting for the first time. This is not genesis of this problem. This problem has long been here. So he should have simply asked, ubaba, udile kanjani nalenkinga ngenkathi lenkinga was here, is presenter ngenkathi yena ephila? How did he handle it? You understand? That would have been wise for him to do, and simply sing from the same hymn sheet. Right now, he's just opened himself up. Okay, guys, you tell me what you think down below. Ciao, ciao. Let me love you and leave you. I want to reiterate this for all those who do not like to listen. I am not anti-Zulu Kingdom. I am simply anti-King MisiZulu's statements. I'm not even anti-King MisiZulu. I'm anti his statements that seeks to make that office which he's occupied a very dignified office. He is now placing it as a political football. You tell me what you think down below. Ciao, ciao. Bye.